We will take a look at beautiful and historic Galena, Illinois, a small town with a big story. Galena, Illinois is a small town today with a population of 3,300 people. This picturesque town has an amazing backstory. Galena has been critical in a number of ways. It served as an important mining center, a rail stop, and the home of 9 Union generals during the Civil War, including Ulysses S. Grant. The year 2022 marks the 200th anniversary of the birth of Ulysses S. Grant. Galena is located in Jo Daviess County in northwest Illinois. As the crow flies, Galena is 150 miles from Chicago, just 6 miles south of the Wisconsin border, and 13 miles southeast of Dubuque, Iowa, on the Mississippi River. The region that would become Galena was inhabited first by many native peoples, including the Sauk, Fox, and other nations. The region was known to have important lead deposits and thus was of high interest to the United States. The name Galena is derived from the Latin word for lead sulphide. About 150 settlers established Galena in 1826. Jo Daviess County was established the next year, 1827. Galena would serve as the county seat. The mine industry at Galena was robust, and the population blossomed. The 1850 U.S. Census shows that Galena had over 6,000 residents, making it one of the larger towns in Illinois. Galena in 1850 was 1/5 the population of Chicago. Chicago's population at that time stood at 30,000. In 1850, Jo Daviess County had 18,600 residents. Some 3,300 of the county's residents were in school in 1850, about 1/6 of the population. Jo Daviess County had 62 public schools in 1850. The county had almost 4,000 milk cows, over 5,000 sheep, and nearly 14,000 pigs in 1850, and about 1 horse for every 6 people. In that year, Jo Daviess County produced over 200,000 bushels of wheat, 250,000 bushels of oats, as well as hundreds of thousands of bushels of corn, in addition to 12,000 pounds of wool, nearly 80,000 bushels of potatoes, and some 170,000 pounds of butter. The 1850 census shows that the state of Illinois had nearly 1,000 miners, more than the number of millers and twice the number of innkeepers in the state. But Galena's early local economy was even larger than mining and agriculture. Galena is connected to the Mississippi River by way of the Galena River, which flows through town. Steamboat traffic was the main engine of distance trade and transport in the first half of the 19th century, and Galena's access to the Mississippi River made the town an important steam post. Steamboat traffic was heavy at Galena, and the town was easily one of the busiest Mississippi River ports north of St. Louis. However, the Illinois Central Railroad brought the train to Galena in 1854. This connected Galena to Freeport, Rockford, and then to Chicago. Towns that were selected for the rail line in the 1850s had a greatly expanded economic potential. In Galena, Chicago's markets, once a long carriage ride away, were now easily accessible by railroad. As a steamship port and now a railroad stop, Galena was a critical staging point into the upper Midwest by the 1850s. While the lead mines were largely depleted by this time, the city was to achieve a new acclaim for a different reason. Hiram Ulysses Grant, later known as Ulysses S. Grant after a typo in his West Point records, was born in Point Pleasant, Ohio in 1822, when Illinois was considered the far west and still in its infancy. He grew up in Georgetown, Ohio. After graduating from West Point in 1843, he was stationed in St. Louis, Missouri. He met his future wife, Julia Dent, in St. Louis. Before he married, though, he was sent to serve in the Mexican War. In 1856, Grant visited his brother Simpson in Galena. That same year, a lawyer visited Galena and spoke in favor of the new anti-slavery party, the Republican Party. The speaker was Abraham Lincoln. Another speaker to that town during this period was Frederick Douglass. In 1860, Grant moved his wife and 4 children to Galena, living in a 2-story brick home. Grant went to work as a clerk with his brothers in a leather shop. Fate kept drawing Grant to the Mississippi River. He had met his wife in St. Louis, relocated to Galena, and the war would see Grant as the master of the Mississippi River and her tributaries. Grant secured Vicksburg, Mississippi on the 4th of July, 1863. A Chicago newspaper reported on the successes of Galena's sons. Like many newspapers in the United States in the 19th century, the Illinois Staatszeitung was printed in German. This July 1863 issue noted that the Congressman Washburne had gone down to Vicksburg to help the wounded and support General Grant. The newspaper reads, "Bekanntlich sind Washburne und Grant von demselben Platze, Galena," which translates, "It is known that Washburne and Grant are from the same place, Galena." Indeed, Galena had sons famous in many tongues by 1863. After the war, Grant returned to Galena in August of 1865. 25,000 people came to Galena to welcome their hero home. Local Republicans gifted the Grant family the home on Boutillier Street. The house was fairly new when it was gifted to General Grant's family. The home was built in 1860. The home was designed in the Italianate style common in America in the middle and latter 19th century. But Grant would soon be called to his next service, winning the election for President of the United States in 1868. In the 1950s, the house was restored to its original appearance as it was in the 1860s, and much of the furniture in the home is original. The home is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. The Illinois Historic Preservation Agency manages the Grant home. Guides provide regular tours detailing the life of Grant and his family. Grant traveled the world after his presidency concluded. In 1878, his tour included travel to Austria, Greece, China, Italy, Japan, Turkey, and other nations. The red vase on the mantel here was a gift from the King of Bulgaria. A statue of the First Lady, Julia Dent Grant, is set in front of the home. The Grant house in Galena is a great reminder of the American dream. In this Illinois town in 1860, a man who was struggling in business took a job as a clerk at his brother's leather store. 8 years later, this leather store clerk was President of the United States. Across from Grant's house is the Crowson House, a good example of a settler house, this building from about 1836. Congressman Elihu Washburne's house still stands in Galena. It is a Greek Revival-style house. Washburne was a stalwart Republican and friend of President Lincoln, so Galena was home to the Republic's leading soldiers as well as her philosophers. Like the Grant House, the home is managed by the Illinois Historic Preservation Agency. In addition to General Grant, Galena would produce 8 more Union generals for the Civil War, including Brigadier General John Rawlins, pictured here. John Rawlins was born in Galena in 1831. He would later serve in Grant's administration. The name Galena would be given to a Union ironclad, the name of a Midwestern town on a vessel that patrolled the waters in Virginia during the Civil War. Today, Galena is a great small-town getaway, offering golf courses, fine restaurants, historic tours, and family activities. There are many sights to see and accommodating places to stay. Eagle Ridge, for instance, has emerged as a popular golf and family recreation resort. Some 1.5 million visitors come to Galena each year.